Recording live. Apparently, I've never been on live television before, and apparently I don't watch the news. And I did one time when my grandma gave me the remote after he won the Powerball. I don't know all of the words. Hey, hi, hello, how are ya? Welcome back to MKs Corner. I'm your host, MK Madison Kate, and this is not really my corner that you're used to. It's a little bit of a different corner because we're doing some renovations. If you can see in the back, all of these things here were not here before. If you're not watching the video, I just added a whole bunch of stuff to my room. We're switching it around. I got a new bed. And so you can probably tell how nervous I am. Anyway, Brandi Van is a psychic medium who currently lives in Philadelphia. She has had these abilities for quite a long time, but she wasn't able to fully develop them and know what they fully were until she was in her 20s. And so she told us a little bit more about that. Um, I'm just gonna cut right to my chat with Brandi so that you can hear it all from her. Hi, Brandi.
Hi, so nice to meet you.
It's so nice to meet you too. How are you?
All right, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to take a couple minutes to chat with me about what you do.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Of course, I'm super excited. I have a list of questions that I want to kind of ask you about and talk to you about. So I think first off, I just kind of want to get to know how your experiences started and where they started and how you realized that it was more of a spiritual connection more rather than just like random things that you were experiencing throughout the day.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was young, it was that. It was random things throughout the day. And I didn't want to tell anyone about it because I thought maybe they would think I was crazy or making things up or maybe doing it for attention. So I really tended to ignore it. And what was going on was that I was hearing spirits. So I wasn't really seeing them, but I was hearing them. But it was my voice, but not my thought. And so I thought,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm hearing voices literally. So that's why I was afraid to tell people.
Yeah.
But then when I was in my 20s, I had a very profound spiritual experience where my grandma was passing away, and my family and I were in her hospice room, and we were all around her holding hands as she took her last breath. And as she did, I literally felt her spirit rise above the bed. And when I looked above the bed, I saw the most like magnificent colors. Like, I don't even think they're in this world. And they were forming a
Wow.
star. Yeah, and it was beating in and out like a heartbeat, and everything changed for me in that moment. Like, I knew that she was going on to the spirit world. I knew she was at peace. I knew that her angels and her past loved ones were there to welcome her. And my view of death just completely changed. Like, I was just like, I'm not afraid of death anymore. Like, it's not final. And I also knew I'd be like talking to her again. So it was like knowing without knowing how you know these things. And in that moment, I just thought, you know what? This is awesome and this is beautiful and this is something I want to develop. I don't want to be afraid or ashamed of it anymore. So that's what really got me started on my journey.
That is so cool that that experience happened while you were with your family and everyone around you too. Like when that happened, did you tell everyone right away or did it take you a little bit to kind of get comfortable to tell everyone what happened because you didn't want anyone to think you were crazy?
Yeah, it took me years. So when it first happened, like right in that moment, I actually left the room because it was so strong. And I'm not
Okay.
religious, so I kind of was like, "Oh my gosh, this is crazy what I'm experiencing. Everyone around me is crying and I'm having this amazing experience."
Yeah.
So everyone thought I left because they thought I couldn't handle how sad it was. When in reality, I'm like, it's complete opposite. So yeah, it took me years to tell them because you never know, like, they're grieving, they just lost their grandma, you just don't know how other people are going to react to it. So it took me a long time to tell them, but once I did, like, no one in my family was surprised. Like, my aunt, my mom, my cousins and uncle, they're all like, oh yeah, we all have these abilities. And I'm like, no
Oh,
one talks
wow.
about it. here I am, like at 10 years old, like afraid because no one talks about it. And here they all have it and they weren't surprised at all. And I'm like, why wouldn't have someone just said something? I wouldn't have
Oh,
felt so
that's
alone.
so
So,
crazy.
so
That's
yeah, so now I just
amazing.
want to be like the spokesperson for it. So if anyone feels like I did, so that they don't feel so alone, to know that we are out there. It's just unfortunate that, some people don't talk about it.
Yeah, totally. And so with these experiences, I know you said it kind of happened throughout your childhood as well. When you started experiencing it, was it scary to you, or was it more of like a, oh, what is that? I want to know what it is. Was there ever a point where you were like, I need this to stop right now? Why is this happening to me?
Yeah, that's more how it was. It actually was more of a guilt because I knew that they were spirits and they had messages for people, but it was like I don't know who the message is for. I don't know how to give the message. And so you know that these spirits are contacting you to try to, contact someone, but like you don't know
Hmm.
what to do with it. So I mostly felt guilty that like I didn't know what to do with it. And then even when I was like in college, I like could barely even study because they were just like talking to me all the time, and I
Wow.
would just have to tell them like, please leave me alone, I need to study for this test. So now that I've developed them, I know how to completely turn it off so that they don't bother me, but it's really hard when you don't know what you're doing because yeah, they can just bombard you like all day and you don't know how to tell them to,
Yeah,
nicely
I can
go away.
imagine. Yeah, especially when you don't really know what it is and what you're channeling, it would be hard to probably take the messages and direct them in the proper ways they're supposed to go and just in what you're supposed to do with them, for sure. And
Exactly,
so
yeah.
when you were having those first experiences, I guess, when you kind of realized what was happening, did you ever have a moment where you were maybe like at the grocery store or in public and you saw someone and a message came across and you were like, I need to talk to this person right now?
It has, and it still does to this day, but I feel like it's like an ethical thing for me where, you never know where someone's head is at. Like, what if they're like completely emotional or they just
Hmm.
think I'm crazy and they're like, why is this person talking to me? So I don't do it unless someone actually books a reading with me and they know the
Yeah.
message is coming. But in saying that, the spirit will like I just call them the naggers. Like they will nag at me and nag at me because they want their message so bad, but like I just tell them like I just can't. I'm so sorry I can't give the message because you just never know how I mean it's very emotional to get a reading, so I can't imagine if
Totally.
I just like told someone on the street like, "Hey, you're, whoever is talking to me,"
Yeah.
So yeah. I've never
Yeah, for
actually,
sure.
just told someone without like them being prepped for it.
Yeah, that is awesome that you do that. I know I had one time an experience, just some random guy when I was working at a dance competition, he came up to me and he was like, I know you're a Libra, and I know that you are, like, gave me basically my entire personality as a story to me. He was like, you are
Wow.
destined for great things. And it was just threw me off so bad because he walked into the building, came straight to me, and then left the building, and no one ever saw him again. And so
Oh,
that kind of
wow.
took me off guard a little bit. I was like, I like this stuff, but not when it happens to me randomly throughout the day. Like, that's
Yes,
kind of
yeah.
scary.
Yeah, definitely.
And so when you were talking to your family, I know your family was very accepting and opening to the gifts that you have. Were your friends as accepting, or were some of your friends skeptical, or how did they take that?
So it's funny. So my mom's side of the family is very accepting, but my dad is like the biggest skeptic ever. And so is my husband. So
Okay.
I
Oh,
live with
wow.
both
Okay.
worlds. So yeah, my mom's family totally okay. My dad's like, this is made up. Even though I've given him readings, and his mom died when he was 8 years old, and I was telling him
Okay.
things about his mom that he didn't know, and his sister is like 20 years older than him, and she was
Mhm.
verifying like everything I said, and he still doesn't believe it. So
Oh my
whatever.
goodness.
I know. It's like obviously I'm not making this up. But
Yeah.
as for my friends from high school who I still keep in contact with, they're like not surprised at all because when I was younger, I wouldn't so much tell my family, but I would tell my friends about it. So now they're
Mhm.
not surprised at all. But in college, I didn't tell anyone. And so they are the ones
Okay.
that are like, "What? This just came out of nowhere." And it's like, "Actually no, this has been like my whole life. I just never said anything." So, yeah, I have all all different levels of people, in my life that knew it, didn't know it, skeptical, believers.
Yeah, that's awesome that you have kind of all sides of the spectrum that believe. And so, have you ever tried to make someone believe? Like, have you ever gone up to someone and be like, please let me, like, help you believe that this is true? Let me give you a reading to help you believe?
I'm more like I feel bad for those people because
Hmm.
it's such a beautiful way to live. And even my dad, like he thinks that once you die, everything turns black and and you're just gone. And I'm like, even if you don't know for 100% fact that we go to the spirit world or that we have another life, if you can choose to believe that or believe that you turn into dirt, like
Yeah.
which one would you rather believe? So I almost feel bad for them because like why would you want to believe that that's it? You die and then that's all that happens. So it's not so much wanting them to believe in or it's more of like a I don't want to say pity, but yeah, I kind of feel bad for them.
Yeah, that does make sense. And so you describe this as a beautiful experience. And have you ever had something that was negative that happened to you that maybe made you want to take a step back from what you were doing, or have you always had quite a positive experience on this journey?
So I only had one very bad experience and it was when I was 17 and I believe and or I know now that it was because I had not developed my ability and I didn't know how strong it was. And
Okay.
I was playing around with the Ouija board, which
Mm,
if you know how to do the Ouija board, it can actually be a good thing. But if you don't know how to use it correctly, it can be really bad because you're like inviting these negative energies in that you don't even
yeah.
realize that you're welcoming them in. So my two friends and I, we were just at a pool party and we were going to go get some pizza. So we walked through the backyard of someone's house that has a path in the woods to get to the pizza place. They don't have any abilities, but I know that I have them. And
Hmm.
something started to growl at us when we got into the woods.
Oh.
And at that time, you're thinking it's an animal. What else would be growling at us?
Mm.
But then my two friends, who were guys, by the way, ditched me, right? So they leave.
Oh
And now I'm
my
in the woods
gosh.
with this thing, right? So now I'm in the woods with this thing that's growling at me. And it actually pushed me. It was that strong that it pushed me into
Oh
the brush. And I
wow.
looked up I kind of describe it as like a Phantom of the Opera looking. It was like half black, half white face. And so
Hmm.
I luckily was able to get up, ran back to my house, and I called the cops. So the cops
Okay.
get there. The cops go back and they're like, there's nobody back there. And so you're thinking, like, okay, if it was an animal, it would have ran after us. Like, was it just someone wearing a mask? Like, why would someone be in the middle of the woods in case kids come back to go to get pizza? Like, it just didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And then years later, once I started developing my ability, I was like, oh my gosh, no, that was a negative energy. And when you are very psychic, when you have like these very strong abilities, the people around you start to have these experiences. So
Okay.
that's why now I know that that's why they were able to see it and hear it also because I was so
Okay.
strong. It was kind of like going off of them. But yeah, that took me years to realize like, oh my gosh, no, that was something negative. But now that I can control it and I've developed it, I've never had a negative energy come in ever again.
Wow, that's amazing that you're able to control it and that you can control whether or not you want those energies to come in. And I know you mentioned that you had been playing with the Ouija board. Have you ever kind of done any other like paranormal, like ghost hunting, I guess? Or is it more so that you do like the psychic readings and that kind of stuff?
So I love watching that stuff on TV and I have done
Mhm.
it myself. So I go to places that are super haunted like Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, New Orleans, things like
Yeah.
that. And I go on all these ghost tours and it's weird that like it's kind of like hit or miss, I guess, whether the spirits talk to me or not. But I seem to always get something in my pictures, and I always go back to the
Wow.
ghost tour like group, and they're always like, "Oh my gosh!" And they've actually like tried to recreate like with the time of day, the lighting, and so there's times where my pictures do
Oh.
end up on these ghost tour sites because I'm able to capture it. But the biggest thing was my husband and I were down in Fort Mifflin, Pennsylvania, which is near the airport, and it's very haunted. It's where like I don't know if I have the war right. I think it's the Revolutionary War. But yeah,
Okay.
so these soldiers had been there for like 300 years. So we did a ghost tour, and then we were walking back to our car. Now the ghost tour is over, and my husband and I saw an apparition. And so
Okay.
he, who does not believe in any of this, like stops in his tracks and was like, "Do you see what I'm seeing?" And I'm like, "Yes." And I'm excited, and he's just totally freaked
Yeah.
out. So I look behind us because I want to make sure it's not like a shadow of someone or something. And there's nobody in the parking lot but us.
Mhm.
So I go back running back to the ghost tour and I tell the tour guide, like, "Mr. Tour Guide, I just saw an apparition." And he said, like, there's no way you could know this, but that parking lot used to be a building there and the soldiers would go back and forth to protect the fort. And that's exactly what we saw was you
Wow.
could see like the figure, like the soldier hat, and you could see him
Mhm.
walking back and forth. That's what we were seeing.
Wow, that's
So
so
yeah, it was
cool.
awesome. And then the
That
whole
is
ride home, my husband's driving and like looking behind him as though the spirit is in the car with us. And I'm like, he did not come home with us. He's been here for 300 years. He doesn't care.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so cool that you experienced that with him, and it's so crazy that he still says that he's skeptical to that and he completely saw, like, the embodiment of a spirit in front of
Yes.
him. That's wild to me. And
Yeah, he
so
always says that now he knows he can't explain it. He knows something happened and he just can't explain it. So I guess that's how he's opening his mind. Oh, but if I could tell one other story. So I was
yeah, of
also at a ghost
course.
hunt. And the ghost hunters are more like light this up, like light up my EMF meter or whatever it
Yeah.
is. And so, I'm so much more sophisticated, I guess, because I can talk to them in my
Yeah,
mind.
totally.
And so they're like asking it yes or no questions. And so I straight up told the spirit, like, "Did you start a fire here?" And it didn't light up. And then I went, "I know you started a fire here. Light that up right now." And it lit up. And they were all like, "Oh my."
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
And so I don't think I would go back again just because I
Yeah.
kind of see it as I can talk to them and it's much more of a conversation versus like light this up.
Yeah,
So, but they're still
totally.
fun. They're still fun, but yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool that you go on ghost hunts. That's what kind of got me started into wanting to learn more about like the psychic and the mediumship and all that. I used to binge watch ghost hunting videos all the time on YouTube. It's I still all that I watch is the ghost hunting videos, and at first I was like, these have got to be scripted. There's no way that this actually is happening to them. And then I really got into like the tarot cards and the crystals and really trying to channel my own kind of inner energies. And I got a book on like it's how to read auras for dummies and kind of was trying to
Okay.
figure out how to do all this. And then I experienced something that made me take a step back from it because I was like, I don't want this to happen to me when I'm not expecting it. And so
Mm.
when I think I was meditating every single day is when this started happening. I would have dreams of exactly what would happen the next day, like to a T of exactly how my next day would play out. For 2 weeks straight, I would say I would have dreams of just all my life events. And the last one was me and my boyfriend at the time getting into this horrific car accident and like dying. And that was the last one before they started coming true. And so then I was horrified to drive down that one road that was in my dream. And the next day after that dream, I was in my kitchen. I was just making lunch. It was in the middle of the day, like sun was shining through our windows. And I look out of the corner of my eye and I turn, and there's just this like 7 foot tall shadow figure now looking more into it. I'm pretty sure it was the Hat Man, what people call it. And it was like I could just feel his emotions or his energy, and I just started bawling. I gripped my boyfriend and I just started bawling my eyes out. And after that, I just kind of took a step back. I was like, I don't want this to happen because I know that I have some sort of connection to the spirit world and I want to explore it, but not if this is what it entails. And so I kind of took a step back from exploring it myself, but still would watch all of these videos because now I'm like, I have an experience of my own. So I really
Yeah.
am kind of more believing that all of these videos are really happening. And then there was one video that I watched recently. I'm not sure if you know, like the Sam and Colby video when they were at the Conjuring house. Have you heard about that video?
No, I watched all of them, so I probably did, but I don't remember. But go ahead.
Yeah, there's these two people that work at the Conjuring House, and basically they're a couple, and when they make contact, no matter where they are, they can ask anyone in the spirit world questions, and they spell out the alphabet, and they can completely make contact with them. And at first I was like, that seems a little odd because they work at the Conjuring House, so, like maybe it's just a setup. And then they were taking them to all of these different places and doing it with them, and I was like, that is crazy. And that video really got me realizing, like, I don't have to visually see the spirits to be able to, contact them or talk to them or have messages passed through. And so I kind of started getting back into it more. And then that's when I reached out to you and I saw you come across my Instagram. I was like, I wonder if she would be interested in coming and talking about it on a podcast.
Yeah, yeah. So let me unwrap a lot of that.
Yeah, yeah.
So first, the dreams that you're having, those are precognition dreams, and usually they are for like ourselves or for the people around us. Now if you have dreams about like the world, those are more premonitions and you can't
Mm-hmm.
really do anything about those. But even precognitive dreams, you can't really sometimes do anything about those either. They're more just to get you like psychologically ready for something to happen. It's not like you can
Okay.
really change the future, because we
Mm-hmm.
all have free will. So even if you were to change something in your day, somebody else could change something and then it still might happen. So
Mm-hmm.
the thing with that is you don't want to feel guilt. So let's say that you did have a dream that someone got in a car accident and you could tell them, hey, I saw this in my dream, but it doesn't mean they're going to take your advice. You don't know when it's going to happen. So what are they going to not drive for like a year, you know? So
Yeah.
a lot of it
Yeah.
is just like not feeling guilty and just realizing I had this dream, but I don't know why. It was just kind of there. So that's the precognition dreams. And then the next thing you were saying about, you were kind of unlocking it without, like what I call that is dabbling. Like you don't really know how to
Yeah.
do it in a safe or wise way. You're just kind of playing around with it. And that's like
Totally.
how I was doing with the Ouija board. And that's whenever it's dangerous because you don't know how to protect your energy. You don't know how to like ground yourself. You don't know the steps to keep yourself protected so that these negative or bad energies can come in. Now, the next part you said was the black shadow. And
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of times in our society, because of movies like The Poltergeist and Exorcist, we're just told that like big black figures are scary.
Yeah.
But unless you actually talk to that spirit, you don't know whether it's scary or not. Our minds
Mm-hmm.
automatically tell us that. But unless you talk to that spirit, it literally could have been like your, I don't know if your grandpa passed away, but I'm just giving an example. It could have been a deceased loved one just like wearing a black jacket, and you don't
Yeah.
know unless you talk to them. So I actually always talk to a spirit like a child, and I'm kind of like put my customer service voice on, like, can I help
Mhm.
you? Like, what can I help you with today? Do you have a message for someone?
Yeah.
And really for me, 10 times out of 10, they're not something scary, because usually in our lives, we don't come across these negative or fearful people in our lives. You know, normally we
Mhm.
have like upbeat, good people in our lives. So, and especially if it's a deceased loved one, of course they're not going to come back to scare you. But
Of
yeah, but our
course.
minds kind of like trick us to say it's scary, but we don't really know if it is. Now, in saying that, you definitely want to develop it, whether it's a mentor with me or somebody else, when someone can actually tell you this is what to do. Because trust me, I read books for years and I watched all the TV shows and listened to all the podcasts and did all that,
Mhm.
but nothing was developing my ability. It was like my knowledge was getting great, but like actually
Yeah.
developing my ability, it wasn't working, because I almost compare it to playing the piano. Like, let's say you go and you learn all the notes and now you can read the notes, but you never put your hands on the piano, you're never going to be able to play. And this is that same thing. You can read about it all day, but these books only have like 4 or 5 exercises, and that's not going to develop anyone's abilities. That's
For
just like a
sure.
little piece of the puzzle, but you're not getting the whole entire puzzle piece, which can really make it quite dangerous because you don't know exactly what to do.
Mhm. Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I know, like, dabbling in it, because I'm very curious about it. My family is, I don't want to say completely against it, but I grew up in a Christian family, so it was kind of on the fence, like, oh, that maybe you shouldn't be doing that. So it's kind of like I was doing it in secret. So then I didn't want to talk to anyone about my experience either. So then I'm going throughout my days like, oh, I don't want to see a shadow around the corner. And so that's kind of why I stopped, I guess, trying to meditate and channel into that, because I was like, I need to learn how to do it properly so that it doesn't scare me. And so
Yeah.
now, you had mentioned with your mentorship, what kind of got you into wanting to help other people rather than just going and learning about locations and doing ghost hunts and like that yourself?
Sure. So first, I just wanted to say how you talk about how you're fearful. Whenever you put that energy out there, that's a negative energy, and so that's what actually makes them stronger. So just like you see in those shows, that part
Okay.
is correct.
Yeah.
So if you are nervous or anxious or fearful, that's going to make them stronger, and you're basically like a magnet, and they want to see how scary they can get. Like how much can I
Okay.
scare her?
Hmm.
So that's why you have to realize that you have power over spirit. And I almost say to treat it like a bully. So if like a criminal would come in here with a gun, like, I'm sorry, fight or flight, I'm out the door, right? But if a negative
Yeah.
spirit comes in here, you stand up for yourself and you say, you need to get out. You're not going to scare me. There's no emotion here. Just leave. And they will, because they're not getting a reaction out of you. So it's like, what's
Yeah.
the point? Why am I even here? And they'll leave. So it's really important to know kind of how to handle that. But the mentorship program is like, I did mediumship readings for years, but I look back at my journey of reading all those books and taking all these classes that really
Hmm.
like overpromised, underdelivered. And then I finally found a mentor, and I only worked with her for like 6 hours over 6 months. And my abilities just skyrocketed. I could call
Wow.
spirit on demand, I could do readings. And, so I did that for years, but then I always had it in the back of my mind, like, why is it so hard? Like, why was it so hard to find a mentor? Why doesn't anybody do this? And so I just feel like that's my calling. Like, all these people are out there and they don't have all the steps. And I'm like a proven roadmap. This is exactly what I did to get me where
Yeah.
I am. So I know it works. So yeah, and I can't guarantee that someone's going to be psychic within 90 days, of my program, but I can guarantee if they keep doing these exercises, they will become a psychic. So yeah, I just feel like it's really important to, there's a mentor and a coach for everything, whether you play an instrument or a sport or whatever. And it's like, why are there none for this? So that's really what got me into it.
Yeah, that's so cool. And so for yourself, when you are doing readings, do you still do those readings often, or do you focus more on your mentorship and helping other people?
So I do the readings, but it's really through word of mouth. I don't market it at all, and I never actually have ever. It's always been through word of mouth. So if someone comes to me, I will do it, but I'm not like actively marketing it, because I really do want to just become that mentor. And then, but I can never say no to someone, because how can I? If I can
For
give
sure.
someone a message of love and healing and comfort for someone that's grieving, like, I can't say no. And I love doing them, but it does
Yeah.
take a lot of energy. So there's no way I could do it for like 8 or 10 hours a day. It just wouldn't be sustainable, because my energy would be depleted. And honestly, I wouldn't even be like in the human world anymore. I would just be talking to spirits all day, and
Yeah,
I don't want to have a life
makes
like that
sense.
either.
Totally. And so when you do those readings, is it very like, how do you experience everything? Is it visual? Is it more like just a feeling that you get that you need to tell someone? Do you hear things in your head or out loud? Like, what are those experiences like?
Yeah, so I don't know if you're familiar with the clair senses.
Mm-hmm.
So just in case your audience isn't, so we all have our five physical human senses, and then when everyone also has the sixth sense, their intuition or their inner guidance, their instinct, their gut feeling, whatever you want to call it. And that sixth sense is our psychic ability. So we're all born with that. But when you know how to use that sixth sense along with your five physical senses, now that's becoming a psychic. So how I do it is I hear them mainly, which is clairaudient, meaning I hear them. And then I would say my next strongest one is clairvoyance, meaning I see not them, but I see like visions, symbols, like a home video, or like a
Okay.
photo album in my mind. And then I also am clairsentient, so I feel their energy. So I might start doing mannerisms like them. I might start talking like them. So I actually can feel the energy as well. So a couple different ones. But when someone's trying to develop them, I always say to think of it like a sport. There's so many sports out there, and those are your different clairs. But the goal is find one sport and get really good at it. You don't have to be good at all of the clairs. You just need to figure out which one is my best one. Am I hearing spirit the best? Am I seeing them the best? Whichever one is yours, that's the one you want to run with. You don't have to be good at all of them.
Yeah, that's totally makes sense. I really like how um you kind of go over all of the clairs. I got the PDF with the all of the different clairs to kind of see what you align with. And there was a lot that I was like, "Oh, maybe I'm that, maybe I'm that," because I have experienced also hearing people talk, not talk to me, but like muffled voices. It's happened a couple
Okay.
times, more specifically in the house that I'm in right now, my parents' house, and I've always kind of had a weird feeling in this house, but I anytime I bring it up to my parents, they're like, "Oh, you're just feeling things, like you're just cold, like you're just getting the chills." I'm like, "No, it's every time I walk past this one spot that I get the
Yeah.
chills, like it's just weird." And
Yeah.
so there was one time specifically, it would have been, I think, like 6 months ago, right when I moved back into this house. And I was the only one home. Like, my grandpa lives in the basement, but he wasn't here. There was no TVs on. I had just gotten home. And so I'm in my room, and all of a sudden, I thought I heard my brother's girlfriend come in the door, like in the front door, and I heard her talking kind of muffled, so I couldn't hear exactly what she was saying. But I was like, "Oh, that's weird. I like she should be at work, but I guess she got off early." And then all of a sudden, I heard her call my name. I heard her go, "Maddie, Maddie, come here." And so I went out of my room. There was no one there. No one was home. Like, not a single car was in the driveway. And so I was like, that is kind of weird. So that I burned some incense in my room because I was like, I don't know if that's a good thing that they're calling my name, but kind of cool that I could hear them, but kind of weird that it sounded like someone that I know. So is that often what you kind of hear? Is it like people's voices that you know, or is it usually your own voice, like out of your head, if that makes sense?
No, so it's actually in my head, but it's my voice, but it's not my thought. So it's something like, yeah, you're just like, wait a minute, I didn't just think that. So it makes you kind of like
Yeah.
sit back, like, wait, that wasn't what I just thought. But if you hear it externally and they say your name, that's usually your spirit guide or your guardian angel. So if you do hear your name,
Oh.
a lot of people again are fearful of that, and it's more just the fear of the unknown. You don't know what it was,
Mhm.
or same with that black figure, you don't know what it is, so you get that fear of the unknown. But yeah, usually if you hear it externally, that's usually your spirit guide or your guardian angel. So I would definitely see that as a great thing that you were able to.
Oh. Well, that's really cool because I do hear it more often after my grandma had passed away. I kind of had started hearing it more often in my house, and I never really was scared of it. I never had a scared feeling. It was almost a feeling of like there's someone with me, but they're comforting me almost. And so there
Right.
was a number of times where I would hear voices and go out and check, but nothing was there. But then there would also be times where I would be by myself and kind of hear those things, and then all of a sudden be like, "Oh, hey, grandma," like just randomly in my head. And so that actually makes sense that that could be what that is, a spirit guide or a guardian angel or something like that. That's really
Yeah,
cool.
that's awesome. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
definitely because maybe your grandma's not your spirit guide, but she absolutely is most likely looking over you. So yeah, it would make sense that she's with you. And you brought up something again that I forgot to mention earlier. So you had said that it's against your religion, people say that a lot. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's actually a misconception. So religion and spirituality are two different types of thought. So religion is a group or a community, and they go to a church or somewhere to worship a god or whatever you want to call it. A spirituality is a individual's journey, so it's not part of a group, and it's really to find your higher purpose, to go on a journey of personal self-growth and discovery. And within that, usually the next step from spirituality is then developing your psychic abilities, because they're also known as spiritual gifts. So that's the difference. So a lot of people get them confused, where people can be spiritual and religious, they can be religious but not spiritual, spiritual but not religious. So it's actually two different things, and I think the misconception there really gets people to think, no, it's against your religion, but it's actually very two separate things going on there.
Yeah, I think that's also something that I'm learning more as I dive into it, kind of um like I guess dissecting the beliefs that I grew up with and like why is this wrong? Why is it seen as wrong? Because then I'm kind of going into manifestation as well, and I'm like, well, if I am praying to a god or to the universe. I'm putting a thought or a manifestation out into the universe. How is that any different than me doing that within myself? You know what I mean? I just kind of
Exactly.
started questioning things like that. And so I really opened myself to the world of the spirituality because I was like, I see that it doesn't seem like it's going head to head. Like there seems like it's
Yeah.
correlated together. It doesn't seem like it's a bad thing.
Yeah. And the end result is all the same, to be more positive, to have a higher vibration,
Hmm.
to be compassionate, to love. So, I mean, the end result really is going to ultimately be the same anyway. It's just kind of how you get there and what your own beliefs are. But yeah.
Yeah, of course. And I think that's pretty much all the questions that I have for you. I think the last one would just be if there's anyone out there that is wanting to develop their spiritual gifts, what would be their first step and where can they find you so that they can do that with you?
Sure. So the first step, and people always ask me this, like, is everyone psychic? And the answer is yes. But if you don't know what experiences to look out for, you don't realize that you're having them. So
Mm-hmm.
I've created a free ebook. It's on my website at brandyvan.com. And if they sign up for my email newsletter list, it's like a fun little quiz that they'll get. And it shows them, these are the experiences that you're having that you think are everyday human ones, but they're actually psychic ones. And then they add them up, and it's divided into categories because there's so many different types of psychics. There's healers, there's mediums, there's intuitives. So it kind of shows them what type of psychic they are also. And I really feel like that's the first step, because you might think you're not having any, but if you've ever experienced deja vu, or if you've ever gone into a room and you just get like a bad vibe in the room, like these are little things that you don't realize are actually coming from your sixth sense, not your five physical senses, and that's your psychic ability. So I think that's definitely the first step for people. But yeah, on my website, they can learn about all of my services and my program. So they can book a call with me, even if it's just someone that like needs that like-minded community, to have someone say, "Hey, I know you're not crazy. I've been there." I can
Mm-hmm.
talk to someone about that as well, even if they don't join the program. I just want to be there for people.
That's so awesome. And I'm so glad that I was able to talk to you today and learn more about the spirituality world and kind of what got you into it. It was super cool to be able to talk to you and delve into all of your experiences. Um, so I think that's all that I have for questions today. And it was amazing getting to know you, Brandy. Thank you. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye. Thank you so much for watching this very special episode with Brandy. If you liked this episode, be sure to give it a thumbs up or a 5-star rating or whatever you can do on whatever platform you're listening or watching this on, because that really helps me understand what you like listening or watching, and it helps me get guests and it helps me know what to talk about, because I really want to do maybe some like advice, or not advice, but like stories that I read out from you guys, because I think that'll be really fun. And so make sure to give ratings on what you like, and you know, let me know. Let me know, let me know, let me know. So you know what to do. Share this podcast with your friends, your family, your neighbors, your dog. Put a wanted sign up in your neighborhood, because what we want more viewers for MK's Corner. Woo! Hopefully next Friday I'll be in my set that I'm gonna try and make. I have an idea and I'm very excited. If you don't watch the video, you should watch the video, because I think the set's gonna be super cool if my idea works. So, yeah, okay. I'll stop rambling. I'll stop yapping. I'm I'm a yapper. Later, skaters.